Hi. What I'm gonna briefly talk about in this video is how to resize the photographs not one by one, but if you have a number of photographs that you want to resize to a particular format, how to do that as a batch. So you do them all together and you can just set the process go and come back 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later and they'll all be resized for you as you wish. The way we'll do that is by using something that's called Image Processor, which is a little snippet in Photoshop, but we will invoke that process through Adobe Bridge. So I've got a number of files here, I think there's 20 files here, that I want to resize to size not greater than 800 pixels, so that I can actually post this on the web or email them to my client. So the way I will do that, first we will select all the photos that we want to resize, and because I want to resize all of these, I will select all of them by pressing Command A on a Mac, or you can probably do that by pressing Control A on a PC, and then navigating up to the Tools menu and then down to Photoshop, and then from the menu that pops up you go to Image Processor. Click on that. You will notice that Photoshop will now start loading up because this is a little subset of Photoshop. Once that's done, a dialog will appear. Now this dialog we will use to tell Image Processor how we want our photos to be resized. So let's just first have a look at particular options that we have here. At the very top we can see that 20 images are selected. There's a little number there in the bracket, and we have an option to open the first image to apply settings. So you will open up just the first image and it will let you adjust your exposure, contrast, and whatever other bits you may want to adjust, and then it will apply those settings to the subsequent images before it resizes the photographs for you. Because I've already done my image corrections either in Camera Raw or in Photoshop, I really don't want to do that, but you can do that if you need to. And the next option you have here is to select the location where you want your images to be saved. You can either save them in the same location or you can select a different folder. Whichever option you select, the Image Processor will create an additional folder within the folder that you select or within the same location, and will put your resized images in there. So you're pretty much safe. Whatever you do, you won't just end up with lots of random additional images in your folder. It will actually group them into separate folders within a folder that you specify. So I will want to select a new folder here. Sometimes I save things in the same location, but this time I will select a new folder. And that's opened up a dialog, and it's coincidentally opened up a dialog where I actually want to save it, but you can select and navigate down to where you want to, and it will save the files in there. So I'll just click open here because I'm happy with that. And now what I will need to do is select what type of files I want to have as a result of this, and what the final image size I will want to have. Let's say I want to save them as a JPEG, although you do have an option to save them as a Photoshop file or as a TIFF file. So I'll select JPEG here and I will say resize to fit, and quality you have an option between 1 and 10, 10 being the maximum quality, and it gives you an option to convert whatever color profile you have within your photos, to convert those to sRGB. I will keep that selected, although by default my camera is set to actually record all the images in sRGB, and I very rarely deviate from that unless I need to prepare photographs for print, in which case I will convert them to CMYK, but I will do that in Photoshop, and that will depend on the particular printer that you're using and all that sort of stuff, so maybe that's going to be covered in a different topic. What I will want to do here is now define what's the maximum width and height of the final image or the resized image, and what I have here coincidentally, is 800 and 800. Now what that means is not that my image is going to end up being a 1-to-1 ratio image of 800 by 800. That tells the image processor that I want my maximum width to be 800 and my maximum height to be 800. And then what it will do, it will actually maintain the image ratio. So if your image is a 2:3 ratio image, you'll end up having, so say your height is like 3 and your width is 2, you'll end up having height of 800 and width will be scaled so that the ratio is preserved. So that will end up being probably about 533, and then my height would be 800. If you had a landscape image, then your width would end up being 800 and your height would end up being 533. So your ratios will be preserved, and the maximum size you will get will be 800 in this particular case. Of course, you can set these to whichever values you like. I use 800 because, I don't know, that for me is a nice size, and yeah. So once you've selected what type of image you want, you have an additional option here to run a particular Photoshop action if you wanted to. So you don't have to. I mean, you can just be, if you're happy with these, you can just leave that as it is. Or if you have particular actions that you want to be applied to images before they're saved to your hard drive, you can do that here. So what I also do on all these images that I'm publishing to net or sending to clients is I convert them to 72 dots per inch, and I have a particular action set up in Photoshop that will do that. So what you do here, you simply navigate to particular action that you want executed. So in my Photoshop, I have, you have some default Photoshop actions, so you can apply all of these sort of settings if you wanted to. I have some additional ones that I created previously, which I use in my work, and one of those would be convert image to 72 dpi. And you remember in one of my previous videos I've also covered creating watermarks, and you could sort of use that to create a watermark in all your images if you wanted to. But for the time being, I will convert them to 72 dpi. You also have the option to include the ICC profile or all the meta tags and stuff like that you've got with your images, so you can do that by selecting this. If you don't do that, it probably won't preserve them. They'll just be sort of images free of any ICC tags or anything like that. But I want my images to be tagged, so I'll select that. And you can quickly check that everything that you've selected here you're happy with, and you click run. And what that will do, it will open each file in turn in Photoshop and will convert them to 800 by whatever image, depending on which size you selected, and we'll also convert them to 72 dots per inch images. Okay, so that's done all of the images. It's gone through each image in turn, and it's resized it to whatever parameters we've given it. So to check now that everything is okay, we can navigate to the folder where we've recorded it, which is there. And you can see that actually here we've got another folder called JPEG. So that's what I was saying earlier, is that if you even give it a new location, or if you save the files in the same location, it will still create a folder and will put file in there. So if you converted all your files to JPEGs, it created a JPEG folder. If you converted them to Photoshop, you would get a PSD folder here, or if you converted them to TIFF, you'll get a TIFF folder and it will put the files in there. So let's just check what the format of these files is. So I'll just change the view in Bridge by clicking on details here, and we can see that if we just focus here, that the image is 533 by 800, so that the maximum size of the image is 800, and we can see that there's 72 points per inch, or dots per inch, and we've got the sRGB color profile. And that's essentially it. We can see that some of the ICC data has been preserved, but we could probably see more extended ICC data if we went into the metadata here, and we'd see that, you know, here are additional details about my contact details and all that sort of stuff that I've had in there. I hope this is useful for you, and until next time, I'll wish you all the best and bid you good light. Bye for now.